Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Lift, the film directed by debutant Vineet Varaprasad and starring Kavin and Amrita. Now, this is a solid horror film, but let me get the bad parts out of the way first. The first 20 minutes or so are awful. This is the part where the Kavin character joins an IT company as a team leader. The way the boss takes him around, the way the boss speaks to him, the Kavin character, the way the Amrita character is introduced, she works in HR in the same company, all of this should have been much more interesting. The dialogues are surprisingly functional and sometimes really bad, especially in the so-called comedy parts at the opening. Luckily, there's no more comedy after the opening scenes, but I don't know why they had this. Maybe it was a commercial compulsion, or they thought that the audience would like a bit of, easing into the actual story before the horror takes off. But whatever it is, it doesn't work at all, and it's really painful. This occupies about 20 minutes of the movie, and the movie is about 2.25 hours. So this automatically means that if this had been shortened a bit, we could have gotten a roughly 2 hour-ish movie. So that itself is a gain. Then there's a slightly smaller problem of the ending, which doesn't quite explain why the Kavin and the Amrita characters are the targets of the vengeful ghosts. We get a silly flashback with zero depth, and it really, for a movie that works so well during the horror portions alone, this feels like such a cop out, like you've seen it in so many movies earlier. And at the end, we get a message about IT companies and stress levels. This is no doubt true, but then it's also an easy generalization because stress is across all industries today, and there is a certain thing about the individuals themselves, because it's about how we are built and how we handle stress that contributes to a lot of these things. And the film would have been much better without this generalization, this messagey part which shows like actual scenes from IT suicides and things like that. Now for the good part, which is a good 1 hour 45 minutes of the movie, which is the horror part, which is when Kavin realizes that ghostly things are happening in the building, and he and Amrita, the Amrita character, they have to figure out a way to escape. This whole portion works quite well. Now, one thing about this film, it's not a jump scare movie. It's horror, right? The genre loosely would be called horror, but it is not like a jump scare movie. It's a very elegant kind of horror film, and you see this right from the very first shot, where the camera is looking at a distance and you see a body just like drop to the ground, and you're not told who this person is, and you think there's going to be a cut or something like that, but then the camera just does a nice horizontal sweep until it gets to a lift where the doors open and something happens. So right from there was a kind of evidence that there is a, like there's going to be something very elegant happening out here. Throughout the film, there are cool colors. There's no like deep reds, there's no real blood and things like that. The colors are very cool. I really like that touch because it lends a touch of difference. And also there are small touches like the company being named AMRAK, which is karma in reverse. And in this portion, which is the actual horror portion, the writing is solid. I really like the way the director treated it, not like, again, to scare the audience, but like a procedural. How to solve this, how to fix this, how to go to the next step. Okay, I found out this. Now, what is the next step? What could be causing this? They almost think logically, they're an IT company and they want to solve the puzzle. And I really like the way the film approached this in a really procedural kind of manner. In other words, I like the way the director connects the dots very slowly and very elegantly. Technically, the film is driven by Michael Britto's score, which is a combination of percussions mostly and a metallic groan kind of sound, and all of this no doubt would have worked much better in the theater. The editing by Madan, the cinematography by Yuva, everything works because nothing is showy. Also, a lot of horror films are very derivative in nature, so to see something look so refreshingly original is really nice, which makes me feel all the more why the hell did they keep those opening portions with that bad comedy and all that kind of stuff? Why couldn't have they just gone with the horror portions alone? Now, there are only two main actors in the film, Amrita and Kavin, and Amrita does her job well enough, but Kavin is a real surprise. He is quite impressive. He has a way of not overselling an emotion, in the sense that when he feels terror, he's not out to make the audience feel terror by overacting. He shows how he feels the terror, that is, the character feels the terror, without overselling it. And in the early portions where there's a bit of a romance, he has these sly looks, again, which he doesn't oversell, that made me wonder what he'd be like in a rom-com. So, like I said, I wish the opening bits had been shorter, and I wish the ending, the explanation had been much better, much more solid. But on the whole, Lift is quite impressive and it shows a genuine directorial mind at work. That's it about Lift. If you like this video, do subscribe to Film Companion South and see you soon at the movies.